lecture again. So this is going to be today's third lecture, and in this way we shall be finishing our Tuesday's data as well, and then we can see what is there. We can do extra at that day. So now I hope you would have got the information regarding what we have studied in today's lecture. That was regarding attitude first of all, then we did stress management, then we did regarding group dynamics, power I have taught you, conflict management we have gone through, and this is going to be the next one. In this topic, in this lecture, we shall talk about two things in general, okay? And these are very easy, none kind of a concept is there, okay? So very theoretical part is there, and they do not include any kind of a concepts to be understood. So these are just group organizational development, and finally this is organizational change, and in this way we shall be covering whole of human resources management or organizational developmental management. So all these things shall be covered in this video lecture. Only two topics were left, and I thought that I should finish it by now. This is why I'm taking this lecture as well. So going to talk about organizational development and organizational change in this lecture. So just before I'm just going to tell you, these are very smaller topics. I think not more than 20 or 25 minutes will be needed. At that much time it will be over, because we have included those parts which are necessary and which are important ones. So just before sharing, you need your quick opinion. If you can hear me, can I start my lecture now? Can I start showing you? Just need your confirmation. All right, thank you. I've got your confirmation now. Just going to show you the screen so that you can see the content of this specific lecture, and that is going to be related to organizational development and organizational change. Okay, organizational development and change. So first of all, would like to give you some brief description of what we are going to study in these lectures. First, these are two separate topics, like organizational development and organizational change. This is a very smaller topic, okay? Here you must understand only what is the meaning of that and what are different characteristics or are involved in the organizational development, okay? Change is somewhat longer in comparison of development. This tells you how the change occurs and how do you react to these kind of changes in the organization. Okay, so as the name suggests, definition is very easy to go through. Organizational development means use of programs, use of strategies, use of different systems by which you continuously develop your organization. And when we talk about the organization development, then we talk about the development of individual human resources working in the organization, and we take this organization as a whole. Okay, so when we talk about their development, then we usually talk about the different programs adopted by the company or organization, for which it becomes easy for the organization to be developed. Now it has been completely written there as the definition of OD. This is OD refers to organizational development. This is a complex educational strategy. Okay, this is an educational strategy. Why this is made? This is designed to increase organizational effectiveness and wealth. How? Through planned intervention. Okay, by consultant using theory and techniques as well. So simply, what is this? I have already told you, use of some programs or any kind of strategies by which you can increase your efficiency. So this is complex educational strategy which is used to increase your organizational effectiveness. Okay, so when you use these kind of strategies by any means, so that your organizational effectiveness is achieved at, then this kind of situation is known as organizational development. So now there are some characteristics of that we have to understand. First of all, a program is planned in that. In OD, there is a planned program and it involves all the departments and subsystems. Then secondly, top management is committed for these kind of programs of organizational development. Then this is all related to organizational objectives. You ultimately, your target is to achieve the organizational objectives. Then organizational development is always based on a research. You always try to find what your present position is. On the basis of your present position, you decide what to do in the future so that the greatest kind of efficiency is achieved at. Then OD lays stress on changing the behavior of people. So this always stress on how you can change the behavior of the people. Then this is the interaction between all the groups which are included in the organization, all the groups to cope up with the changes. So this is, I think, all about that. Now there are some other characteristics that feedback is taken, propagation is made so that people should know about all the development. So feedback is also taken whether the employees have learned new things or techniques or not. So OD through discussions, solutions to the problem is sought. So in this way, or in the organizational development, all the solution for all the problems is sought, and this is reached that by doing the best kind of research, and a kind of research is conducted for solving the situations or problems, and this is known as action research. And OD takes a very long time. It can take long time, like 5 years, 10 years, and so on. Only then, because with the passes of time, only the organization develops. So in this way, it is said that they can take a lot of time. So I hope you would have got the idea of what we had to study regarding organizational development. So organizational development is just adopting some kind of strategies or programs by which you can achieve the desired level of organizational effectiveness and efficiency. And when we talk about organizational efficiency, that generally means to the efficiency of all the human resources involved in the organization completely. So characteristics I have taught you completely. The next topic is regarding organizational change. Organizational change. Okay. When the position of organization changes from one level to another level, one level to another level due to organizational development, this is known as organizational change. Okay, so that means change means term change refers to alteration which occurs to overall work environment of the organization. So it's just alteration of a status quo when you are not what you were yesterday. Okay, so that is called organizational change. I have already given you information that organization change is the part of organization development. That simply means that with the process of organizational development, there shall be number of changes or number of alteration in the present working conditions of the organization. These are known as organizational change in overall. Okay, so that was the definition of that. There are only two kind of changes brought, although there are number of changes, but they have been classified into two kind of changes. The first is a proactive change, the second is a reactive change. So what is proactive change? Proactive simply means in anticipation, for which you were already prepared. The change which you had already expected and for which you are already prepared, that kind of change is known as proactive change. So proactive change refers to change undertaken in anticipation of likely changes in forces affecting the organization. So when you already knew and in anticipation you were already prepared for those kind of changes, these are known as proactive changes. Then reactive changes, these are when these are the changes for which you were not prepared and these were not anticipated as well, and these can be due to any reason. These can be internal reason or external reasons as well. So this is why it is said that reactive changes are further divided into number of categories. So I have given you information that a reactive change refers to a change which is undertaken when the organization is forced by some factors either internally or externally. So when these kind of changes happens, the organization is not pre-planned of whatever the structure of it's going to be in the coming future. So that is known as a reactive change. Okay. So reactive change can further be classified into number of parts. Okay. So what are factors for changing it? These can be external or internal. Externally, the factors which are responsible for changing the present structure of the concern or the organization, these are technology. When technology changes, the organization has to change. Okay. When marketing condition changes, the organization has to change. When there are social changes, organization has to change because it has to change its product and other things. When political forces changes, new rules regulation comes up, organization has to change. So these kind of changes are known as the part of reactive changes for which the organization is not pre-planned or pre-prepared, because and these happens just because of external and internal unexpected factors. So I have given you complete information regarding what kind of external forces can force an organization to change. In the same way, there are internal forces like nature of workforce. Workforce can change, and in the same way, organization has to change. Like there can be demand or there can be strikes for more hike in wages. That kind of a workforce, if the nature of a workforce is changing day by day, it can ultimately cause changing in the complete organization structure. Then change in managerial personnel, when there is a new CEO, new CTO, new CFO or new manager in the organization, they brings up number of changes in the organizational structure that ultimately causes the organization change which are sudden in nature sometimes. Then deficiencies in existing management structure. Sometimes deficiencies also proves to be the basic reason for making changes in the organization. Like in a board of directors, the personnel are not competent. They are not competent and they are just taking the decision on the basis of their discretion. And if they are taking these kind of discretion, there shall be number of changes occurred in the organization time to time and sudden, and these shall create number of problems due to new change in the organization. So in this way, we can differentiate the reactive changes into two parts, and these were external factors and internal factors. And I hope you would have understood by these as well. Now there are few different type of organizational level changes only which we have to, I think there are 4 or 5 types of organizational level changes which we have to understand. Okay. Only points have been written, I think very easy to understand. First of all, strategic changes. When the company changes its very basic objective and mission, this is known as a strategic change in the organization. So what your objective was previously, you just change your objective and you go to, or you switch your objective to something else, or when you ultimately change the mission of your company, that is known as a strategic change. So this is the first kind of organizational level change. The second one is a structural change. When you change the structure of the organization, like you change positions, you change manager to foreman or supervisor to higher level position, or you create more departments, or you just remove some departments, you just remove inefficient inefficient employees, you just hire new employees. That kind of changes is known as structural changes. This is the changes, this is the organizational structure is just a pattern of a relationship among various position, and when you change the position and various position holders, that is known as structural change in the organization. That is the second kind of change. The third one is process oriented change. When you use recent information processing and automation in your company, okay, which requires retraining of personnel, heavy capital equipment investment, and operational changes. These kind of changes are known as process oriented changes because they affect those works or those areas which are to be held or occurred frequently or on daily basis. This is known as process oriented change. These involve retraining of your personnel, heavy capital investment, and operational changes. So that was the third kind of a change in the organization. The fourth one is people oriented changes. When you change people on different bases, like you create teams, formal or informal, you create groups, you create committees, you create partnerships. So these kind of things is known as people oriented changes. That is, changes are directed toward performance involvement, group cohesion, dedication, and loyalty to organization. So that is made possible when there is a kind of a structural changes in the relationship of people, like you make groups, you make committees, you form task forces. So all these things bring changes in the organization, and these are known as people oriented changes in the organization. So they were only four kind of organizational level changes for which we have understood completely by now. I have taught you regarding strategic change, regarding structural change, process oriented change, and people oriented change. And the last topic and the last thing which we have to understand, how do you react when change is there in the organization, how people react or how organization react when there is change in the organization. So there are few ways, I think 3 or 4 ways, then this will be over. The first way of how the reaction is done when there is any kind of a change in the organization, the first is acceptance. When you don't resist, you accept the change. This is called acceptance by you. If an employee perceives that a change is likely to affect him favorably, then he accepts it. Okay, when there is a salary hike or new employee coming, it doesn't affect you, and it just, if it affects you, it affects you favorably, then you just accept it. So the first reaction can be the acceptance. Okay, the second can be resistance. You just resist it. You don't like the change. The person thinks that the effect of change is likely be unfavorable to him, then he try to oppose the or resist the change. The resistance simply means opposition to change. So this is the second way of how you can react to the organizational change. The third way is indifference. When you feel that it's not going to be make any kind of difference to me. 10 people are coming in the organization and in no way they are going to affect me. I should be very indifferent towards that. Okay. So in that case, the employees just become indifferent. Sometimes employee fails to realize the impact of change. He feels that there is nothing kind of change and I should not bother about that. So he just become indifferent towards the change. This is the third one, how the people react in case of organizational change. So this is, I think, the last one. This is the forced acceptance. Okay, so what happens here? If the people or the employees do not like the change, but still they have to accept it forcefully, like management or board of directors forcefully just place their ideas or place their change for the organization. So this is called a forced acceptance. People resist the change in initial stage, but if the change forces are stronger, then they have to accept the change, and this is known as forced acceptance. So I have taught you regarding four ways how you can react to the organizational changes. First is acceptance, then resistance, indifference, or forced acceptance. So in this lecture, we studied regarding organizational development characteristics, organizational change. Then I taught you regarding different types of organizational change, and finally we studied regarding how there are way to resist, or how there are way to react regarding the organizational changes. And that was over for today. Okay, we have already completed whatever we were supposed to complete in Monday or Tuesday's lecture. There can be some other plans as well, like we can post your tests as well. And I hope you would have gone through from each and everything till now what we have delivered to you. And I must tell you, you are very sound student, because you know everything. It's your responsibility to go, for you to go through. You are not just a student of who have just passed their post graduation, or any level of that. Okay, so you know all the information. You know what is the need for qualifying this examination. This is the reason why we are doing that level and that kind of a hard work for you, and we just wish that you qualify the examination, and you will qualify only if you go through each and everything. And so that sometime I am not able to call you individually, although sometime I interact with you in this way, and I believe that you are going through from everything. Okay, only then you can expect it. It's ultimately this is your battle. Okay, we can give you everything, but ultimately you have to go through from each and everything. So this is why we can just hard work for you, and you just have to pay for that hard work in the way that you have to succeed in this examination. You can succeed only if you follow all everything. I expect that along with your job, or along with your household chores or works, you are managed to spend at least 6 hours a day for studying this syllabus. So in this way, today we have taken 3 lectures. All the works are already completed till Tuesday for paper second. Now we see what happens. Thank you so much for joining me in this lecture. And its notes and its lecture shall not be delivered today, because today was not assigned as per schedule. But in case you need, then we shall send you. You just have to message us that we have already gone through that. Just send me the video lectures recording and the PDF notes for today's lecture, then we shall send you. Otherwise, that shall be sent on Monday and Tuesday. Thank you so much for all of you for joining in this lecture.